Hello, everybody, and welcome to Unaired, the show where we take TV shows canceled with episodes left unaired, review them, and then pitch our ideas for how we think they could have continued. I'm Ed, and friend of the show is back on, Chris Revill from Let's Chat with Chris Revill.
Oh, Ed, thank you so much. And you got the name right. You said it right and said the show name right. Because little show name changed since last time, but not too big of a difference.
Yeah, and I love your new logo. It looks very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, I do too. I have to say, it's of all the years, it's the first time I had a logo I actually like.
I definitely sympathize with that. I'm still struggling to find one.
I like yours.
I have a love-hate relationship with my logo.
Well, Brian Malloy, a.k.a. Popcorn Inc., is a good guy to hire. That's why who did my logo.
It came out very, very good.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And, oh my God, so much has changed, my friend, because Unaired, when did it become one of the biggest podcasts? Because it went from you had schmucks on like me to all of a sudden you had like all of Bullseye or, Maximum Fun on.
First off, you're definitely not a schmuck. Definitely one of my favorite people to have on. And, I just got very, very bored and was just like, you know what? I'm going to go on Twitter and just ask people and see what happens. And it happened.
I mean, I've had that experience where it's like, if anyone does a podcast, or this is relatable to anything in your life, where like, I've asked friends, like personal friends, to come on the show. I've done this thing for 5 years, who's flat out said no. And then had people I've idolized or looked up to, or I just felt like I have no right to ever speak to, answer me on Twitter. Sure, I'll give you 2 hours of my time. And then you're like, your friend that you've helped move, be like, no, I can't do it.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a weird situation.
It really blows your mind. So that's why I always say ask everyone.
Oh yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. So like, why not?
But dude, Jesse Thorne is huge.
Yeah, I was surprised. That was one of the most surprising.
And not in a bad way. I was like happy for you. I'm like, oh, of course, it makes perfect sense because you have such a great concept. But like, it was just like, damn, that's like, damn. One of my best gets was when I had Rahul Kohli on from he's on iZombie, he's on Supergirl, and a bunch of good stuff. But I had gone through every proper channel. I emailed every manager, PR, booker, all that crap. No response from any of those people, which is fine. That's not a big deal. And then I tweeted him, and he said yes. And I think we set it up with under an hour. He's like, all right, I can do it, but it has to be like at 2 hours from now. I was like, okay. And my amazing wife made it work on her birthday. And then he talked to me for like 2 straight hours, and it was amazing.
That was definitely one of my favorite episodes of yours.
Mine too.
Yeah, I love iZombie, so...
Oh god, yeah, I love that show so much. It's oh my god, season 5.
Yeah, unfortunately the last one, but at least I'll have a way to wrap it up.
Kind of makes me happy because I want it to end well and then just be a show that I loved.
Exactly. Like they haven't had a terrible season at all.
No, they really haven't, and they redid themselves. They really outdid themselves with this. I like to think Rob Thomas, man, I don't know, that poor guy, he can't break this bubble. Because all the shows are incredible that people just, he has his fan base, but it doesn't get past that, whatever that hurdle is. I like Party Down, which is like a cult favorite. iZombie is amazing. Veronica Mars. But for some reason, it never gets over that hurdle.
Yeah, it's like a blessing and a curse, though, because like you said, we don't get any terrible seasons where they're scrounging for ideas.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And especially on CW, where we got like shows like Arrow, where it's just kind of redoing plots. Like,
oh dude, I gave up on those shows a couple years ago, and but good for the people who work on them.
Yeah, it's good that like these types of shows are still going on, but like,
yeah, I don't care.
Also, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm like, I don't give a shit. It's
Yeah.
like, good luck, guys.
Yeah, speaking of shows that didn't go on, so this week we covered a series called Great Scott, with an exclamation point at the end. So it turns out the episode that I sent you, turns out that's not the pilot. I couldn't actually find the pilot.
Yeah, what a weird thing. It was like really hard to find anything for it. I mean, I watched the episode, obviously. You sent me, that makes sense that it wasn't the pilot. That makes a little more, but it was a hard show to find anything about besides like a little Wikipedia page.
Yeah, just the Wikipedia page and that like one episode.
Yeah. It was, yeah.
Yeah, it was a show. So this show aired on Fox from October 4th to November 29th, 1992. It had 13 episodes made, but only, let me do some quick maths, six that aired. 7 of them were left unaired. Yeah, the episode we watched was actually the 5th episode. Second to last episode that aired.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was called Stripe Gripe. These all have very, very bad titles. And they're all rhymes. We got Hair Scare, Choirmire, Stone Moan, and then Pyrrhic Lyric.
Do you think, you know how like puns are kind of like in at the moment or have been for a little while? Do you think in the 92 like rhyming was like the thing?
It had to be.
Yeah.
That's the only explanation for all of these.
Like iZombie is all puns, or like many of things are just like puns. But maybe that was back then. It was like you tried to rhyme instead of pun.
Bob's Burgers is just full of puns.
Oh yeah, well that should have been my go-to. Now you can stop me if this is too TMI for people, but I believe on Twitter you said your dream is to have a burger appear on the Bob's Burger of the day.
Either that or to like make a pun for in the intro, the shop next door where it changes every time.
A legit life goal. So much so when I got to interview a few of the writers, I literally was like pitching a couple and hoping I still look every week to see like if it would make it on there.
Hoping that somebody was just like, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that down.
Because my wife had won this contest. You're in Massachusetts. You have Lux Burger. There's one in Springfield, but it's
by the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's really good. But in Providence, they have this like whole event where they did like a build your own burger contest, and like I think 600 people entered. Of the 5 that were nominated, my wife was one of them, and she won. And she won like money and stuff. And she won that with this delicious burger called the Figgy Piggy. And I was kind of and they're like, "Oh, that's a cool name. Maybe we'll use it." So every episode, I'm like, "They can use it. They can use it," and that's like our dream come true.
It's just for it to show up one day.
Yeah, I mean, the $500 gift card to the restaurants and the burger trophy and the gigantic event wasn't enough. It's got to be on Bob's Burgers because we just are enamoredly, obsessively fanatic of that show.
If that happens, you need to get another burger trophy for yourself made.
Yeah. Oh my God. I would cry. I don't even know I would even react to that. Like that would be amazing.
Just like running down the streets with a bullhorn. Go to Fox,
guys. Go to Fox and freeze frame on your DVR if you have it. See, I took you off track. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So the show starred a young Tobey Maguire.
And look, I'm sure everyone might be thinking this, but it proves that he can never act.
No, not at all. He
is not a good actor.
No, and he looks almost exactly the same as he did in Spider-Man.
But he had that stupid like 90s hair, like the faux bowl cut / mullet.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know why that cracks me up. Yeah, he's like dead behind the eyes.
A little bit. He's a little more lanky than he was in Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But almost exactly the same.
And at the time, I used to really like those Spider-Man movies, but now I do not.
They have their moments, except for 3.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they're fine. I just really like Homecoming.
Homecoming is very good.
And I guess now Spideyverse, but I guess it's technically different. But I really like Tom Holland's performance as Spider-Man.
He's definitely, even like Stan Lee came out and was just like, this is the definitive live action Spider-Man.
It really is, because he's a kid. He's an actual kid. Well, that's enough of my thoughts on that. I have no hot takes other than he's amazing, and I cannot wait to see more of him.
Yeah, and he's an actual gymnast, so he's like out there doing those fucking stunts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I have one question for you, though. You saw Infinity War, obviously.
Yes.
When that scene where he's like, "I don't want to go, Mr. Stark." I
like how he just went British there. I know he is British, but
I know, Mr. Stark, I don't want to leave. It reminded me of the I believe an episode of Doctor Who, which I'm not terribly familiar with, but I've seen pieces of because my wife likes it. But it reminded me of a scene of Doctor Who when I think it's David Tennant is regenerating, and he's like, "I don't want to go."
Yes. Now, yep. I kind of jump around the Tenet years. I don't watch it like religiously, but every once in a while I'm just like, you know what? I'll watch a Tenet episode.
Yeah, it's a fine show. I think it has a horrible fan base, but it's a fine program.
A lot of shows have gotten to be like that.
Yeah. I'm
Even
one
like-
of those people. The Simpsons.
Yeah, even like big things like Star Wars. The worst thing about the fan base is the fan base. Like,
Oh my god.
nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
Oh my god, that's so true. And yeah, I know it's true. It is true. I sometimes I wince. I'm like, I like Star Wars, but I mean, not that much as you guys. It's fine. I enjoy it.
Exactly. So this episode starts off with Scott, the main character. He's in the driveway with his cousin Larry, and Larry's practicing his moves because he's the mascot for the football team. The eponymous stripes from the episode title.
Mass Scott, great Scott. Come on.
Yeah, how can you not? Oh, there we go. The title is a pun.
There it is. And you know what really made me mad? No Back to the Future references within this.
Yeah, when I first found this show, I thought it was going to at least have something related to Back to the Future in it.
Like a DeLorean in the driveway would be so out of place in 1992.
Or even like if the guy from later in this episode was Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, or just, I don't know, some nod to it. Like it's clearly a BTF reference.
Exactly. So the episode starts off with Scott's in the driveway and he's got to move the car. Or he doesn't have to. He wants to because he's playing basketball while his cousin's practicing. And his cousin's like, oh, you could just move it, the keys are in it. Which is a very 90s thing. People just leaving shit unlocked, leaving their keys in their car.
In suburbia, yeah. Because
Yeah.
it's like, it's safe.
Even now, like, I park in front of my driveway for like a minute to run in and get something. I'm hitting the lock button twice. Like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I've always been that way. I've had many of cars broken into in various levels of wealthy areas to dangerous areas. It's just, it don't matter where you are.
Exactly. So hell, Tobey Maguire could just hop in and move your car.
And if he does, he'll accidentally run his friend over because of was confusing to me until he started bouncing the cantaloupe that it was a dream sequence or like a fantasy sequence. Like they weren't very clear with the fantasy sequences.
Yeah, so that's like the hook of this show, is it has Scrub style like moments where he kind of like just imagines things.
You know what it kind of reminded me of? Do you remember a program of around the same era, maybe within 5 or 10 years? I don't know, 90s. Herman's Head.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel.
Yeah, but I'll draw when we get to a little bit into the episode. I have some notes I had taken that will kind of connect it all together because there's some Simpsons connection to this.
I did not know that. So Scott, while he's having his little dream sequence where like weird porno music is playing, he's bouncing a cantaloupe to impress some cheerleaders and throwing groceries at them, and they're cheering at him. He, instead of backing up the car, pulls it forward and runs over his cousin's ankle, which only sprains it.
And he doesn't even go far enough to hurt him.
No, and he's not going very fast either.
It's a classic sitcom device.
Yep. And then we cut to the anniversary party for his aunt and uncle. The cake is slightly smashed because it was part of the accident. And his aunt is actually Deborah Jo Rupp from That 70s Show.
That was I wrote that down because it was kind of blurry because it looked like Kitty from That 70s Show, and then I think is it the mom looked like I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she plays Carol on The Office.
Yep, it was what's her name? Nancy Lenahan.
Yeah, she's from SNL and her real life wife of Steve Carell.
Mm-hmm. And
Great Scott, Michael Scott. Come on.
oh man, there's so many connections here.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop. Adam Scott pops in at some point, maybe.
I feel like you have a corkboard with red lines in your in your room right now.
It's all. This is the West Palt theory, our version of Great Scott. Have you ever heard that theory that all of television takes place in the autistic boy from St. Elsewhere's mind?
I literally was just talking to my friends about this the other day.
Yeah, I've gone on some rabbit holes, and it checks out. It checks out.
Yeah, the whole Tommy Westfall universe.
Yeah.
That I struggled to find a pun to turn that into a segment to like connect shows, but maybe one day.
Yeah.
So yeah, the aunt and uncle are a little pissed off, understandably. Scott ran over their son, and they decide, oh, Scott should probably take over as the mascot. Oh, Scott, mascot, holy shit!
Oh my god, get the thread, people. And God, I know it was so fucking dumb. I'm sorry. At first, I was like, "This show's okay," but now the more you're talking about it, I'm like, "That's so stupid. That's not how it works."
No, not at all. And it's so 90s too. Like even down to the intro. The intro has that like.
Dude, it reminded me like it sounded like they were ripping off Alice in Chains, but then trying to make it a little more poppy and add a little Saved by the Bell bass line.
Yeah, and even like the title cards looked very Saved by the Belly.
Yeah, like the colors and like the jumping around and the I don't know.
Yeah, the random geometric shapes.
Yeah, with like the weird little marks in them. I can't explain it, but yeah, it did have this really bad early 90s neon.
Yeah, and then after the family decides, okay, I guess Scott's gonna fill in, his other cousin, his cousin Larry's sister, runs up and goes, "Yay, Scott!" and hugs his leg, and he has like a little dream sequence where he kicks her through a window, and he does this same exact smile he does when he's emo Peter Parker, like pointing the finger guns.
Oh, we should point out that his little cousin, sister, or whatever the hell she is like 4.
Yeah, and he's like dreaming of throwing her through a window.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's when it's decided, and he's, walking around with a mascot suit, and a guy in a bunny costume advertising condos is admiring the costume. He goes, "Oh, look at all the breathing room." And he takes him into his office, which...
It's so creepy.
Very 90s too, because he was very trusting of it. He's just like, "Yeah, I'll go into your office."
Sure, there's no one who knows where I am with a stranger in a costume who's clearly an alcoholic.
Exactly.
That they later reference to him being an alcoholic.
And he's just like, "Hey, what if I pay you $20? Will you go be the mascot at the football game?" He goes, "Yeah, sure." "Oh, but I can't. I gotta stay here and watch the TV. The locks don't work." And Scott's like, Don't worry, I got you handled."
Oh my god! Now I will stay in your unlocked apartment, stranger, while you go pretend. Yeah, I don't know. And he's apparently a gymnast out of nowhere.
Yeah, apparently, because we find out later that his dad videotaped the whole thing, and they get home, there's like, "Scott, you did so great." He's like, "Really? I did?" And he shows him doing like backflips, handstands, catching cheerleaders, and he's just like, "Oh, well, I guess I gotta go hire this guy again." And the next morning, everybody's just like, "Ooh, Scott, are you ready?" And they're just like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready." His mom makes him some tiger-shaped pancakes, which are very detailed.
They were very good. Kitty did a good job. So she's like just a sitcom mom, I guess.
Oh, she's 100% the sitcom mom.
Yeah, she's a great actress.
She is. This show has some surprisingly decent actors and actresses in it.
I saw, the YouTube thing kept saying Emily Proctor. I looked it up, and it was, she's uncredited, but she's on West Wing. I think she's probably on something else that's much more popular now. NCI Miami S something. I don't know. Criminal Minds, Undercover Miami, one of those procedural shows.
I think it's Criminal Minds, because my girlfriend watches that religiously.
Okay.
And, that name is, flashing in my head right now from the intro.
She's in, the golden era age of West Wing. So I was like, oh, I recognize her. And Kevin Conley, is he somebody? The cousin?
Yeah, he's on Entourage.
Who's he on Entourage?
Oh, God, hold on one second. Let me find this.
I did not really like that show. I didn't hate it. I just didn't love it.
I was never a fan.
I also didn't have HBO at the time, so I think maybe it was my resentment of not being able to watch it.
He was Eric on Entourage.
Oh, E?
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Oh, apparently he also directed the John Travolta film Gotti.
Well, that is a path we should explore. Wow, and that's the one. That's the movie that MoviePass, which I don't think exists anymore, made.
Yeah, and has a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, which Rotten Tomatoes is garbage. You got to go to Metacritic, where I'm sure it's 0% there, or even negative. I kind of want to see that movie to see how bad it was.
It's like one of those things where I'm debating. Oh, hey, he also guest starred on Wings, and ER. I have the
Oh, wow.
Wikipedia page up.
Those
yeah.
are some good shows to. Well, at least ER was pretty popular at the time.
Yeah. Still was up until John Stamos got there, and then he revitalized it, and then it got canceled.
Yeah, actually, I missed ER. I missed that one completely.
Yeah, I try to get into it like every once in a while, and it just doesn't hold me.
Yeah, I was just a little too young.
Yeah, and then it's like a very even what it feels cliched because all of the medical shows borrowed from it.
Yeah.
It's like going back and watching it without having watched it first.
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle.
But it does take place in the same universe as Friends.
That's true because the doctors that George Clooney and I forget which other one show up on Friends to date.
Yeah.
Monica and Rachel.
Rachel, and then Mad About You too. They were a little fun trivia, which I'll reference this amazing book by Jennifer Armstrong, I believe her name is. She wrote this book called Seinfeldia, which if you're a Seinfeld fanatic, you have to read. It's amazing, which is where I heard about Great Scott. So it does tie in. But in the book, it talked about how NBC wanted to do a big crossover event where all the shows would cross over, and Seinfeld was so powerful at the time, and they said no. So they're the only ones who don't do it. And like the network was just like, whatever, you can do whatever you want. So, but Friends, Mad About You, and ER all end up doing this crossover that Seinfeld was supposed to be a part of.
Yeah, and Mad About You has even more of a connection because
is it Phoebe?
Yeah.
Ursula, right?
Yeah, Lisa Kudrow played Ursula on Mad About You, and they're just like, make that a character on Friends.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that's right. She, of all the friends from Friends, she's the one I like the best because she did this short-lived HBO show that then did a season like a decade later called The Comeback, which I cannot recommend enough to anyone who has it. She's like a washed-up sitcom star who is trying to have her come back into the industry, and it's like a docu-series, kind of like a Curb Your Enthusiasm, or like this very awkward like before all of that, and it's one of the funniest fucking things I've ever watched.
I have to check that out.
Yeah, it's actually good. And then like I think 10 years later they just did season 2 maybe 2 years ago, or maybe 10 or 20 years, I don't know, but there's a large gap because it was like a one season show, but it's like perfect, and it's just such satire on that whole industry.
I know Matt LeBlanc did something similar with Extras, where it's kind of like
isn't that supposed to be good, right?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I heard him on the Awards Chatter podcast by that the Hollywood Reporter has, which is a very good podcast. His voice fucking blew my mind. He doesn't sound like Joey. He's kind of got like a gruff, blue-collar New England voice.
Yeah, I think he had that Billy Joel thing happen where, like, just as he aged, it just got...
Oh, my God. Yeah, it was like, so I gotta go outside and, I gotta fix my roof,
Yeah, he just must have ate glass or something.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Nothing really great happens in this episode. It's not good. I'm sorry. It is not good.
It's actually bad, Scott.
It is bad, Scott. I actually had a question for you.
Yes.
So I don't want to blame the people who make this because it is 1992. I wish I do have a computer in front of me, but I'm not going to touch it. It kind of had this feeling like they were trying to do what Malcolm in the Middle would become a little bit, like with the fantasy sequences. Except the fantasy sequences in the show weren't that good. They were all like very they weren't outlandish, and they were just a little too
Yeah, and it didn't really differentiate it from what was actually happening. It just jumped into it.
Yeah, like, I was like, oh, wait, those girls are there? Where do they come from?
Exactly. Like, at least with, like, Scrubs and Malcolm in the Middle, there's, like, a little, like, white flash to indicate they're going into that.
Yeah, or in Sopranos where they would do it, and then something and the scene would be so out of the ordinary, like, oh, okay, there's a dead body who's now talking to me, or a talking fish, or like, what good art would do to like let the viewer know that things are not what they seem.
Right. The only time we get that in this episode is when he goes back to the guy that he gave the suit to and finds out he's been fired, and then the tiger head growls at him.
Oh, that was weird.
Yeah.
It was just so, and then or the fantasy sequence when he tells the whole school that it wasn't him. Like this whole premise of the show is putting so much pressure on mascots, but nobody cares.
No, not at all.
Like literally nobody gives a shit who the mascot is. Like you don't, and that's what's like the weird thing about the plot episode. It's like, oh, you hurt your cousin. It's like the Santa Claus movies, at least. Those are sweet. It's like, well, you run over your cousin with a car, then you have to be the mascot. We call that the mascot clause. I got nothing.
The mask clause?
There it is. There it is. That's why you're the host.
Yeah. I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, but I got very, very overtired once. I think I'd been up for like 24 or 25 hours, and I got this idea, and I started writing it. A crossover between the Santa Claus and the Paul Blart Mall Cop series.
Dude, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and it's going to end with him leading the reindeer, but they're pulling his Segway instead of a sleigh.
You're a fucking genius.
I would not call myself a genius.
I'm going on here, the record here, and not all heroes wear capes.
But Paul Blart
But you for thinking of this. Damn.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
I think I'm like 10 pages into it.
If you can find a way to bring an Adam Sandler character to pop up, then you just really did it.
And he's got to do the old school 90s Adam Sandler voice to like, I'm Adam Sandler.
What if you bring like little Nicky into it somehow, into the fold? Hey guys, what's that segue?
That's a setup for the sequel.
When hell freezes over, 'cause of Santa.
Yeah, so you just wrote the tagline for it.
Do we just make a new podcast where we just cross over movie universes and make up good taglines?
And every episode is just a sequel to the last episode.
And it just ends with, this time, it's personal.
Oh, man. That would have been more interesting if he couldn't get the suit off afterwards and he actually turned into an actual tiger.
That would have been great, but no. They had all this, and maybe because it is 1992, so I give them credit for they are playing with the format. I mean, I don't know what is popular in 1992, but it is before the second, like this iteration of the golden age of television. Like, this is still pre-Seinfeld, or maybe Seinfeld's around the same time.
Yeah, I think Seinfeld is just like hitting its stride at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I learned in since the plot is useless, in the book Seinfeldia, it talks about Jerry Seinfeld. I couldn't find it to confirm this online, but apparently Jerry Seinfeld liked the show enough to do a guest star spot on it, and which I didn't see anywhere. But then two writers, Matt Pross, I think, and Tom Gamble, who wrote for Great Scott, Seinfeld really liked them from working on the episode, and he's like, this got canceled, come work for us. Gets canceled, and then they go to work for the fucking Seinfeld.
That is a glow up right there.
Yeah, and if you want to get more upset about that, then they also, and still currently, according to IMDb, work on The Simpsons.
You know, that's not terrible.
They've worked on Seinfeld, The Simpsons, and one of them, I forgot, had credits on like Fuller House and like all these various things. Like, but it kind of gave me a more clear idea of like genius, you know, like you just have no idea if something's going to be good, because on paper this should have been a good show. You have great actors minus Tobey Maguire. You have a pretty good premise, and then you have like writers who wrote for it's the Gary Shandling Show. They wrote before this. They were on like, and that was like one of those sitcom that's like changed the format. But like in some of the interviews in Seinfeldia, it touched upon not so much about Great Scott, but just like at all, like a lot of the sitcom writers were like frustrated working on shows like this because they're so confined to this sitcom structure. And Seinfeld is what breaks that mold. And the book makes an argument that without Seinfeld, there is no Sopranos, there is no all the crazy shit that happens in television, because Seinfeld was like the first mainstream show to really just completely destroy the format of its time.
Yeah, especially with like just sitcom characters in general. Like, they're terrible people.
Yeah.
And there's no resolution to anything at the end. Like, there's no consequences except for the finale, but
yeah, no hugging, no learning is like the whole point of that.
Yeah, and without that we wouldn't have shows like It's Always Sunny.
Oh yeah, I mean, it really kind of because it kicks everything off. So I can't recommend that book enough. It is amazing. I got it for Christmas, and it's amazing. I absolutely love it.
It's definitely on my list. Next time I'm at Barnes and Noble, I have to pick it up.
Yeah, dude, I flew through it. Like I was reading and it goes really fast, and it gets into everything, and it's funny. It is so funny to see this like through line of all these canceled pilots and shows that they'll bring up. Like at one point in the book, they'll just list everything else that went up. Like they would put after Seinfeld, and all of it got canceled. Like Veronica's Closet or stuff like that no one remembers.
You know, I definitely have to pick up that book for research now.
Yeah, there's like it's kind of funny, just stuff like that. You're like, oh yeah, and you know, did you know the show aired? I did not.
This show, yeah, it aired.
No, but did you know? Like, were you like? Did you happen to be the one person who watched it in 1992 and forgot about it?
Oh no, I was 2 years before being born at that point.
That would probably be hard for you.
A little bit, just a little bit.
So maybe your parents are like, all right, no kids, let's watch some Great Scott.
And then somehow the knowledge was absorbed into me
Through osmosis.
through osmosis.
Yes. I don't know how old I was in 92, but old enough to not know this existed.
Yeah, there's a few shows that I actually did watch when they were on the air that we've covered. There's a Matthew Perry one. I forget what it was.
He had a lot, right?
He had a lot. It was Mr. Sunshine.
Never heard of it.
Yeah, it was on ABC. He was like a marketing manager for a stadium or something like that. Yeah, and then there was Father of the Pride. I actually watched, which I should not have. That was it was around the time of Shrek because I think they did put a donkey cameo in it.
Yeah, because I was looking through like your list of episodes you've done, and I was like, I don't think I even saw most of those, or nothing I saw when they aired. They were all things I would have learned about afterwards.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird like situation when you're just like, oh my god, I did see this. Like,
oh, I think I sent you there's like that Alien show that I always had these fake memories of, and I could never figure out, and I finally figured out what it was. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And it turned out the guy who created it is like now like a satirical writer for The New Yorker. And I was like, wow, what a turn.
Yeah, I remember you were just like in all caps, like, I knew it existed.
It's like, only one person will understand this. Ed. That's why we get along. Because we're the only two people who cared about that My Alien Family on ABC in 19 whatever.
Exactly.
Because I thought it was a dream.
Oh man, there's a couple shows like that where I'm like, did that happen? It's mostly kids shows.
Yeah. Well, Teen Angel is one of those shows I thought I made up, and then I talked to a writer from that show, oddly enough. And that's another thing I've been learning. It seems like everyone who works on The Simpsons worked on like the worst shows before that.
Yeah.
Because that was a Mike Reese. Another book is everyone should get Springfield Confidential. Mike Reese and Al Jean made that show, and Michael Price, who I had gotten to interview, worked on Teen Angel, and then he told me a story. He was working on the Joan Cusack show, and then it got canceled. Then he got hired to The Simpsons, and now he's been on The Simpsons since like season 14 or 15. So I mean, that guy's got at least 17 years of Simpsons under his belt.
Yeah.
Damn, good for him.
Exactly. It's all these people that get on these big shows. They got to get through a few stinkers first.
Yeah, you got to do some. You got to do Great Scott.
Exactly.
So why do you think Tobey Maguire keeps getting cast? Because we have Eric Foreman, who's that actor who looks exactly like him?
Topher Grace.
Yeah, I mean, you have him. Do we need two of the dead behind the eye white guys?
No, not really, as definitely evidenced by Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, I mean, Topher, actually, I think Topher is a little bit better of an actor.
He is.
But
his sitcoms I actually enjoy.
Yeah. I used to really like that 70s show, and then I just kind of stopped. And then it's not one that I've gone back to rediscover.
Yeah, that for a while, that was my show that I would put on to go to sleep to, because I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fucking...
Yeah. So this episode, basically, the rest of the episode is just he finds out the guy got fired. Then he's like, oh shit, like, what do I do? And the guy still shows up and
drunk.
He shows up drunk and does the whole mascot thing. And for some reason, Scott's already there, but he decides not to stay.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, this would have avoided so many issues. But he finds out later when the cops are at his house that this dude was like dropping people, throwing people, punching kids in the face, and then he mooned the audience.
Again, so weird. Why would that happen? And then the cops are like, all right, let's let him leave, and then we'll go to whose house we think it is. Like,
exactly.
Why not just grab the person in the fisticuffs?
Right. You would think somebody would have called the cops at that point.
Oh, wait, 92, no cell phones?
Yeah, but you think they got to have at least a payphone.
That's true.
But yeah, and the cop was just like, oh, it turns out it's not him, and starts laughing.
That was the thing.
The whole situation.
Like, you could tell there was a joke that they should have cut to, and they forgot to tell it, let us in on it. Like, what's so funny about it? Like, that it wasn't him. Like, I don't understand that. It's like, well, clearly it was a case of, I don't know. It was such a bad joke that they really dropped it. I'm glad glad I got canceled. It sucked.
Yeah, even if it was just like, oh, he's got a mole on his ass that the tiger had.
Yes,
the tiger didn't have. Something like that.
Oh, and then the big kicker at the end is that his cousin gets to be the mascot, but then they have new rules where you have to have your face showing at all times.
Yep, and his mascot costume is just
like paint?
Orange shorts, orange t-shirt, latex gloves that are painted. Yep. Yeah,
they really were relying on mascot humor here.
Yeah, it's not great. And then we find out that the guy stole the mascot costume and went to jail, and they for some reason let him keep it.
Oh, that was so weird. I mean, I guess like for story mechanics it like made a little sense, but it was still like, you go to jail for like, you don't go to jail for stealing in a costume and fighting high school kids. Oh, you probably do.
Yeah.
Forgot about the fighting.
Yeah. He probably did too.
Yeah. But yeah.
So yeah, that is great, Scott. We're going to take a quick little break, and we will be right back.
Hi, I'm Drew.
I'm Nate.
And I'm Tanner, and we are the hosts of Headline Heroes.
Every week we take a bizarre, out there article,
Germans build underground pipeline for beer,
and attempt to create a superhero or villain.
The obvious one is that they have a giant robot that runs off of beer.
Along the way, we discuss powers, design a costume, and of course, struggle with a name.
Graham Sam? No.
Graham Sam, no!
And inevitably, we get off subject and talk about the really important stuff.
I did go to Bill Engvall's website, and I just want to tell you a couple of things I'm seeing here.
Please do, I wish you would. But we always arrive with the super creation we are proud of. Join Headline Heroes every Tuesday as we try to make reality a little more super.
So Chris, had this godforsaken show continued, what kind of episodes do you think we would have seen?
More crap.
You're not wrong.
Unless they got the creatives to actually allow them to do what they wanted to do. I think it could have turned into what would have become like a more Malcolm in the Middle, Herman's Head, or even like Scrubs. Like that could have really. I think there was something there. Maybe because it wasn't the pilot, but I just didn't feel any connection to the characters. But yeah, I think it would have been a middle of the road sitcom where I bet the creative forces behind it really wanted to do something special, and the network said no. It kind of felt like a watered down good idea.
Yeah, I feel like one way they could have done it is if they really leaned into the fact that he has these like imaginations and dream sequences. Like, I know they went kind of heavy on it, but they didn't do it very well.
They were so stupid realistic. And at least like when he was bouncing the cantaloupe and throwing the eggs, you're like, oh, okay, we're going to play with like the laws of physics and like reality. And like, you don't have to go like crazy like Scrubs, but like just a little bit more like fantasy like, but like, I don't know, just something, something that like you would think of times 5. Like not just think of a scenario that could happen, but more of like could happen, turn up to 10.
Exactly.
That's all I would
see. I feel like if this had been the pilot, they could have toyed around with that drunk guy character. I feel like maybe they could have made him like a figment of Scott's imagination, kind of like they were planning to do with the janitor on Scrubs.
Yes.
And maybe make him a recurring character.
Yeah, like, I wonder if we see this guy again. Like the whole thing that I don't know. So like if they were gonna go forward, I would hope that maybe we get some relationship with this guy, gets out of jail and comes after him, or like the stakes are very low and there's little to no consequences and nothing happened.
Exactly.
And it was like trying to be a parody of like the 50s while simultaneously being a show for the 50s.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, the plot line is straight out of the 50s.
Yeah. So I respect them going for it, and if that pushed the needle forward a little bit to give us good stuff, I'll take it. But again, why do people why do they think we should keep casting Tobey Maguire? Like, who's like, this is our guy, who cannot have any emotions, and 100% honest, I could not tell you what he looked like. I could not pick him out of the lineup. He is the most vanilla-looking motherfucker in the world. Like, he just looks like, if you had to like think of a generic white guy, like me, a white guy with brown hair in shape, it's Tobey Maguire. Like, he just looks like everybody.
Yeah, he's got that face.
Yeah. I'm like, is he Seabiscuit or is he on that 70s show? I don't know.
Seabiscuit was the horse, so I appreciate the fact that
I'm not sure if he was
is
a
he
horse.
the guy or was he the horse?
I'm not sure who was.
I can't tell.
Yeah, is a horse riding a person or a person riding a horse? Nobody knows. Yeah.
The horse does have brown fur.
Oh my god,
So-
they're indistinguishable. What about you? Like, what would you do if it? Like, what would you have wanted to see if there was a? I guess we don't even go season 2. We're gonna see episode 7.
Yeah. Like I was saying, like, I feel like they need to give him like a sidekick, like an imaginary type sidekick. Kind of like a Calvin and Hobbes type thing where like they go on adventures.
Oh, that would be kind of cool. Or like, yeah, and maybe more of an ensemble, because it was just weird. It's about Great Scott, and like maybe we saw other episodes. Like, it'd be nice if he has like a weird guy that only he knows. If it like, or that character, like, use him again. I don't know. Like you were saying, like I'm with you on that one. That because it did seem like the show was like him and his cousin, and then everything else was just a bunch of characters we would never see again.
Yeah, I feel like series finale wise, it would have been fun if they. I don't remember when Fight Club came out. It was probably around the time this would have ended.
No, isn't Fight Club like? Oh yeah, never saw it, but I've heard it's good.
It's pretty good, but I feel like they could have toyed around. Oh, then I can't do this because this will spoil something.
What, Fight Club?
Yeah.
Well, I know the ending. I mean, it's.
Oh, okay. So you know the ending. So
oh my God, no, you're wrong. Fight Club's not till 1999.
Oh, well, this show.
Wow,
my ending would require this show to either base itself off the book or keep going until 1999.
Do you want to know what happens if you typing Fight Club on Google? Top story: criminal charges dropped against teacher who supervised preschool Fight Club.
That is amazing.
St. Louis daycare workers accused of running toddler fight clubs. See, there's like 3 of them, and one's St. Louis, one's like in Philadelphia. Wow. What mental disorder does Tyler Durden have in Fight Club? Spoiler alert. Is it like kind of like an okay movie that people like, the wrong people like too much?
I mean, it's pretty good. It's not like greatest movie of all time.
I think I missed the boat.
And yeah, and if you know the twist, it kind of takes away from it a little bit.
Yeah, I just don't care about it. It's been too long.
Yeah. So my ending would have been like that guy, the drunk guy, turns out he's actually, like, we already know he's a figment of Scott's imagination, but it's actually Scott's, like, he's manifesting that into like his own separate personality. Like the thing, like him being the mascot, like he actually would have been the mascot, thinking that it was this drunk guy doing it.
So,
And like maybe it just ends with him in a straitjacket imagining all of this.
So this kind of makes me want to build on off of this and something else you said. What if he ends up being Tyler Durden pre-Fight Club, or like in Glass, which I imagine that's what Glass is about, which I have not seen yet. But like, what if this is like the prequel to Fight Club?
Like he grows up to be Tyler Durden. Yeah. It would make sense. He just changes his name.
It gets better looking in a personality.
Yeah, turns into Edward Norton, who then turns into Mark Ruffalo.
So it's Great Scott Fight Club. Or Fight.
We do Fight Club, but we put the exclamation point at the end.
Great Scott Fight Club, or is it Fight Club Great Scott? No, Great Fight Club Scott. That really changes everything.
The sequel series.
Yeah. That's funny. I'm sad thinking about those fight clubs with the little kids.
Yeah.
I'm not going to click those because I guarantee the article is something completely different. It's really, but clickbait gets me every time, man.
Yeah, it's a problem.
Like, I need to know. Why won't Hollywood cast Tobey Maguire anymore?
Spoiler alert, it's because he's terrible.
Did you see that? Because like I was watching on YouTube, all the side videos, it was just like, why Hollywood won't cast Tobey Maguire? And
Oh my god, I hate those.
I really wanted to watch it because I gotta know. I hate them.
They come up and they're always so stupid. It's just like, why won't Hollywood cast Allison Hannigan again? At the end of the video, it's just like, oh, she just doesn't want to do anything. She wants to spend time with her family.
Yeah,
I could have read that. Like,
yeah, it's like, and they asked if Hollywood is it like the mayor of Hollywood cast one person. Like, I don't know. There's a lot of factors why people don't do things, and they just because you don't see people doing them doesn't mean they do. Like, if you go do a play, I don't know that unless hell. And there's so many TV shows on nowadays. Like, you could be the star of a huge sitcom that I will never see that millions of people watch. Big Bang Theory,
exactly.
which I've never actually watched. I just assume I'll hate it.
Yeah, it's not good.
I'm glad to hear that. 'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know. I hate Jim Parsons so much. I don't know why. Sometimes I just pick random actors to hate, and like him and Josh Gad, I just for some reason despise.
I mean, you always got to have somebody in that role.
Yeah, I can't handle anyone from that show. Kaylee Coco, I'm sure she's fine, but I kind of don't like her either. I hate all of them except David from Roseanne.
Oh yeah.
Jonathan Galecki.
Johnny Galecki.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which the Roseanne reboot was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Not.
I watched a few episodes of The Connors. Wasn't terrible.
That's what it's called. Yeah. I'm way late to the game, but I just watched the Gilmore Girls for the first time, which is great. And then of course I got to watch the Netflix reboot, and I wish Roseanne did what they did with Gilmore Girls, where you took the same show and then it's completely like a different style. It was almost a different show, but with characters you love. And the Roseanne reboot was just kind of like the exact same show, modernized.
Now with the Gilmore Girls, do they still talk a mile a minute?
Yes. I realized
Okay.
that I hated that show because of a Mad TV sketch, and I confused it with the actual show. But I watched Miss Maisel like a lot and fell in love. I was like, I guess I should check out Gilmore Girls, and it's really good.
I can't get into it. That fast talking is just so unrealistic to me.
Yeah, and that's fine. If you ever do, you can skip all of them and just go to the Netflix reboots, and it's magical. And it kind of shows the aesthetic that lays out for the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yeah, that's another one I have to give a shot.
It's
The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
really good. Like, possibly one of the best shows I've watched in my entire life. Good.
Yeah, that's Amazon, right?
Yeah, and the stand-up is amazing. The writing, the style, like, it's... we're not at a Maisel podcast, but it's very good.
So I think that's going to do that for this episode. Thanks again for coming on, Chris.
No, thank you so much. This is great. I was in a podcasting funk of not recording for a while, so it felt good to get back out there.
So if people want to find you and your show,
Yes. Let's Chat with Chris Revill. I am on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Let's Chat Podcast, and my email is letschatpodcast@gmail.com. Please write to me, and I might write back. We'll see. And you could hear me on Unaired in a previous episode, but more importantly, you could hear Ed talk about things about TV shows that aired on my show when we were on whenever that was. It will be only a few episodes back if you look at the feed, varying on when you listen to this.
yeah, that was summer of last year, I think.
Wow. You know what's weird? In my head, it was like a week ago.
Yeah, it's so weird looking back, and you're just like, even like with my show, I'll be like, oh my God, that was 4 years ago I did that.
Oh my God. I constantly think that it's like 2009 in my head.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like when someone says 10 years ago, like they joke about it like, oh, it's not the 90s anymore. I still do that, like 10 years ago.
I still think I'm like, oh, it's 2019? Oh my God, I graduated college 10 years ago? Like, I know. I'm perpetually like thinking about all these life moments, like as if we're still like in 2013 or something.
Yep.
I know. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And I'll definitely be doing your show again.
Yes, we are going to do that in March or April. My landlord right here. Yes, my wife and I are in the process of buying a house, so that's going to have to pause for like a month because I can't afford new equipment right now because the bank has to look at everything I buy for the next month. I'm going to have a podcast studio for the first time in my life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a office, but I just don't have to set up and break down my equipment every time, which is going to be a game changer.
That's definitely a good thing. I just moved, last time we talked, I just moved everything into my basement. I moved it back up because I moved my bedroom into my basement because we have a wood heater down there. So now I have a separate room for my podcasting stuff. Thanks for listening, everybody. And just remember, some things are better left unaired. Bye.
Hello, I am Colin Parker,
And I'm Alex Taylor.
and we are the hosts of Journey Under 30.
This is the podcast all about us doing what we can to be named in a future Forbes 30 Under 30.
On each episode, we take a look at a career of an individual that has been recognized by Forbes.
Sometimes we look at careers that we think were overlooked.
Or sometimes we talk about the careers that you may not know about, but you should.
And in the end, we discuss what we've learned as well as how we can apply it to our own career paths as we make our mark on this world.
So join us every other Tuesday on whatever podcatching app you choose, and we'll see you on the Forbes.
See ya!
Bye-bye now.